Ag PhD full episodes and more are now available on Acres TV, the newest ag platform connecting you to fields of information. Look for us on watchacrestv.com.
During our Farm Basics time today, we're going to talk about how to make stalk size bigger. Now, it doesn't matter what plant, whether it's corn or soybeans or wheat, or maybe it's the trees that you have around your place. I would just say if you want the stalk to be bigger, here are our best tips.
All right, first of all, let's start with the soil and just the soil structure. If you've got compaction, that's going to limit root growth. If you have limited root growth, you're not going to have as much water and nutrition moving up into the plant. And as you're going to hear about in a second, those two things are really important. But you've got to have a big root system. Then you've got the ability to have a big stalk.
Darren mentioned compaction. I would throw out there drainage. Plants will not grow down into a water table. So if you traditionally have high water tables, especially in the spring or early summer, you're going to kill off a lot of plant roots, especially with these perennial plants like trees. So I would just say if you need to improve drainage, that means potentially drain tile, but also you want to have good calcium levels, reduce compaction like Darren said, and try to build soil organic matter. All those things will help drainage.
Okay, now we do want to have water. Don't think, oh no, water's a bad thing. Water's a good thing. When you look at trees and you see the rings on tree stumps, you can tell which years there were good amounts of rain because generally you've got wider rings around the tree. So we do need rain. We just need timely rain and not excessive rain.
Yeah, and again, it's about the water table. We just want to make sure we're keeping the water table down. Okay, fertility. Potassium is number one. It's potassium, potassium, potassium. So there are a couple things that we want you to look at on the soil test. One is parts per million, or you could convert that to pounds per acre. You need lots. And two, we want to have the base saturation. So the ratio of potassium in the soil, we want that roughly 4% to 8%. You want it higher if you have light soil, and if you have certain crops like trees, for example, then you probably want to talk 7 to 8% base saturation K.
And Brian's right, potassium is a big one, but we do need all the other nutrients too. All the other essential nutrients would be critical. So the big ones, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur in addition to potassium, but also the secondary and micronutrients. We need a balance of nutrition for the plant. We just need to be a little bit on the higher end of the scale for potassium if we want bigger stalks.
Yeah, and then pay attention to soil pH as well. So certain trees, for example, they really like it when the pH is 5.5 or 6. But we have crops like alfalfa that likes 6.8 or higher. So have the right pH for the crop and you're going to have a bigger stalk.
And then the last thing is just sunlight. And really with a crop out in the field, you're planting in rows, you're spacing them out to try to get maximum sunlight for every plant. But you notice it in tree groves that trees that are kind of underneath the shade of a big tree, plants the same way out in fields, corn plants that emerge a little bit later, they don't get as much sunlight, and you got to have the right amount of sunlight too.
So basically what Darren is saying here is you reduce your planting population if you want bigger stalks. If you want smaller stalks, then you have more plants all together, whether it's trees, it's corn, it's soybeans, whatever. So that's basically what you can do. Just reduce the number of plants that are out there so each plant can capture more sunlight.
Well, if you want bigger stalks, have the right nutrition, the right amount of water, and the right amount of sunlight. That's a big deal. And also that's going to help you choke out competition from weeds like our Weed of the Week. Can you identify this week's weed?